My kids sold my house while I was in the hospital. They hired an agent, took photos of my bedroom, held an open house with cookies on my kitchen counter, accepted an offer, all without telling me. They thought I'd be too drugged, too weak, too grateful they took care of everything to fight back. They were half right. I was weak. I was sore. But I was not stupid. So I let them list it. Let them host their showings. Let them brag in the family group chat about finally unlocking the equity. I even let them walk into the law office on closing day ready to sign. And then I rolled in. Literally. In a wheelchair with my lawyer behind me, and the actual deed in my bag. My name is Margaret. I'm 75 years old. And this is how my children tried to sell the home I bought with my blood and bones while I was flat on my back in a hospital bed. And how I made sure they signed away nothing but their own illusions. The fall itself wasn't dramatic. It never is. No grand staircase, no heroic rescue. Just me, a rug, and a bad angle. I was in the kitchen, reaching for a cast iron pan, when my foot caught the corner of the rug. My ankle twisted. I flailed for the counter, missed, and hit the floor hard. The pain shot up my left side like fire. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling fan turning lazily above me, thinking, don't be stupid. Get up. I tried. My hip screamed. Okay, I whispered. Not getting up. Luckily, I'd left my phone on the table. Unluckily, it was 6 feet away. I don't know how long it took me to drag myself across that linoleum. Seconds, minutes, a lifetime. I just remember the cold of the floor against my cheek, my fingers finally closing around the phone, and my voice, shaking, saying, 911, please. I think I've broken something. I woke up later in a bright white room with a nurse checking my blood pressure. Mrs. Collins, she said. You're at St. Mary's. You had a fall. Your left hip is fractured. They're going to take good care of you, okay? A hip fracture at 75. I knew what that meant. It meant surgery, recovery, rehab. It did not mean what my children decided it meant. That my independence was over. That my house was now a burden. That my life could be neatly folded into a room at a facility and my home turned into their retirement plan. My son, Daniel, arrived first. He burst into the hospital room with 2 bright eyes and a bouquet that still had the price tag on it. Mom, he said, kissing my forehead. You scared us to death. You can't be falling like that. You're not 50 anymore. Thank you for the reminder, I said dryly. I thought I was 30. He laughed, a little too loudly. My daughter, Lisa, came later, more composed, carrying a notebook. Hi, Mom, she said, setting her bag down. How are you feeling? Pain. Nausea. Can you move your toes? She'd always been the practical one. I've been poked and prodded more than a Thanksgiving turkey, I replied. They say I need surgery tomorrow. She nodded, scribbling something. Okay, she said. We'll handle everything at the house. Don't you worry. It sounded kind. It was, at first. They brought me my robe. My hearing aids. The picture of their father I keep by my bed. But I started noticing the way they talked to each other when they thought I was half asleep. Realtor. I heard Daniel whisper one afternoon near the door. Already. We have to move fast, Lisa replied. The market's good now. She's in surgery tomorrow. Then rehab. She'll never manage that place alone again. You think she'll agree? He asked. She won't have a choice, Lisa said. Doctor will say she can't live alone. We say we can't move in. That leaves facilities. The house has to go. And we'll make sure it goes to the right hands. The right hands, I murmured later, alone, staring at the ceiling. Apparently, not mine. If you've ever been lying in a hospital bed listening to your own children discuss your house like a scratched lottery ticket, you know the kind of cold that goes deeper than broken bones. I wasn't naive. I knew this might come one day. You don't volunteer at a legal aid clinic for 20 years and not watch families tear each other apart over property. I'd seen sons declare their mothers incompetent because they wanted the farm. I'd watched daughters smile in court while arguing their father should be in a guardianship so they could protect his business. It's why, 5 years earlier, when my husband died and I started thinking about what would happen later, I did something my children had never once asked about. I put my house in a trust. A living land trust, with me as trustee and the Collins Family Housing Foundation, a small local charity, as beneficiary after my death. The terms were simple. I had the absolute right to live there until I chose not to or couldn't anymore. On my death, the trust would transfer ownership to the charity, to be used as transitional housing for women starting over. My children could inherit my savings, my car, my grandmother's jewelry, but not the deed to the house I knew they would turn into cash within a week. I did it because I'd seen too much. I did it because I wanted my home to keep being a home, even when I wasn't in it. And I did it because I know my children. I love them. But I know them. That's why, when Lisa came in with brochures 3 days after surgery, I wasn't surprised. "Mom," she said, sitting by the bed. "We've been talking to the doctor. He doesn't think it's safe for you to be alone at the house anymore." "That's funny," I said. "The physical therapist told me with time and a walker, I'll be fine. Stubborn, but fine." She smiled in that patient way adult children do when they think you're resisting the inevitable. "Of course they say that," she said. "They're focused on the hip. We're looking at the big picture. The stairs. The yard. The neighborhood. The neighborhood I've lived in for 40 years?" I asked. "Mom," Daniel cut in, "come on. The house is too big. You barely use half of it. It's a lot to maintain. We're just thinking of what's best for you." "And the house?" I asked. "Who's best for it?" They exchanged a look. Lisa took out her notebook. "We found a lovely assisted living place," she said, flipping to a page. "Sunnyside Gardens. Private room. Meals. Activities. You'll have friends your age. Someone to check on you. No more worrying about the roof or the furnace." "And the bill?" I asked. "It's not cheap," she admitted. "But if we sell the house, invest the money, you'll be comfortable for the rest of your life. And anything left will go to us anyway. It's just moving the timeline up." There it was. Moving the timeline up. I looked at my children. At the lines in Lisa's forehead from worry and ambition. At the slump in Daniel's shoulders from a job he hates and a mortgage that keeps him up at night. I understood. But understanding doesn't equal surrender. "I'll think about it," I said. They seemed satisfied. They shouldn't have been. A few days later, a nurse named Carla slipped into my room during the quiet hour. She was in her 50s, kind eyes, graying hair pulled back. "Mrs. Collins," she whispered. "Do you live on Maple Street? Yellow house with the blue shutters?" "Yes," I said slowly. "Why?" Her face pinched. "I live 3 blocks over," she said. "I was driving in this morning and there's a for sale sign in your yard." For a moment, I thought the morphine was playing tricks on me. Then I pictured Lisa's notebook. Daniel's, moving the timeline up. "The children move fast," I murmured. Carla bit her lip. "I'm not trying to interfere," she said. "I just thought you should know." "You're not interfering," I said. "You're confirming." When she left, I stared at the wall for a long time. Was I wrong? Had I misjudged them? Should I have trusted more? Then I remembered Lisa saying, "She won't have a choice." Oh, no. I hadn't misjudged. They had. I called my lawyer that afternoon. His name was Henry Chong. We'd worked together on community housing cases for years before I retired. He was one of the trustees on my land trust. "Margaret," he said. "I was wondering when you'd ring." "You heard?" I asked. I drove past your place yesterday, he said dryly. I saw a very enthusiastic realtor taking photos of your hydrangeas. I closed my eyes. So they've listed it, I said. Without mentioning the trust, he replied. The listing says, estate sale, heirs eager to sell. Charming. We were quiet for a moment. Can they get me into legal trouble? I asked. For misrepresenting ownership. Technically, they're the ones misrepresenting, he said. They're not on the title. The trust is. But we don't want to mess with an innocent buyer. Here's what I suggest. His plan was simple, elegant, and slightly wicked. We'd let them proceed. Let them sign a listing agreement as if they had the right. Let the realtor market it. Let them accept an offer. Then, when the buyer's attorney pulled title, the truth would surface. The only wrinkle was timing. Your kids are probably not using a real estate attorney, Henry said. They think it's just a simple sale. The buyer's camp will do the deeper digging. When they call the number on the trust, they'll get me. And then we'll redirect things. To? I asked. A buyer of our choosing, he said. Remember that little non-profit you loved? The one helping women leaving shelters find stable housing. I smiled for the first time in days. The Haven Project, I said. We always said my house would be perfect for them. Exactly, Henry said. If they're interested, we structure it so your trust sells to them. Legally. Cleanly. And your children sign whatever useless papers they like on the side. And me? I asked. You, he said. Focus on healing. Let's save your house and your dignity. The next few weeks were a strange mix of vulnerability and power. In the hospital and then rehab, I was dependent. On nurses to help me bathe. On aides to get me to the bathroom. On physical therapists to teach my leg to bear weight again. But every time Lisa cheerfully said, "Don't worry, Mom, the house stuff is under control," I knew something she didn't. Control was not in her hands. Or Daniel's. It was in a folder in Henry's office, with my name, and the Haven projects, on it. From my hospital bed, with my phone and Henry's quiet updates, I learned. The realtor, a woman named Monica, had gushed over the vintage charm of my house. She'd listed it as estate sale, motivated heirs. There'd been 2 open houses. My neighbor Carla reported cars lining the street. Lisa and Daniel had hosted, smiling, saying things like, "We just want Mom somewhere safe. She can't handle the stairs anymore." They didn't mention the trust. They didn't mention the women who might sleep in my bedroom one day, escaping bad marriages. They only mentioned equity. Then, one Tuesday, Lisa visited rehab practically glowing. "We got an offer," she announced, dropping her purse. Full asking. "Can you believe it? God's timing is so good." "Who's God?" I murmured. "What?" she asked. "Nothing," I said, forcing a smile. "That's wonderful, dear." Inside, I felt something icy and satisfied settle into place. They were about to learn the difference between having plans and having rights. If you're still listening, and someone you love is saying, "We're just trying to help," while quietly selling your life from under you, please hear this. Help that hides cannot be trusted. Help that takes your voice away is not help. And you are allowed to be kind and prepared. Closing day arrived on a clear morning. They scheduled it for 10 a.m. at a law office downtown. Lisa told me about it the day before. "Mom, closing is tomorrow," she said, sitting at the foot of my rehab bed. "It's just legal stuff. You don't need to be there. You'd be bored." "Who's buying?" I asked. "A nice young couple," she said. "They love the school district. Want to start a family there. Isn't that sweet?" "Very," I said. "Please tell them the 3rd stair creaks." She laughed. "You're taking this so well," she said. "I was worried you'd cling to the only place I'd ever really owned." The next morning, Henry arrived at rehab with a wheelchair and a suit. I feel like Cinderella, I joked as he helped me into a blouse instead of a gown. Then this is your ball, he replied. Only instead of a prince, you're getting justice. We rolled into the law office at 10:05. In the conference room, I could see them through the glass. The young couple, nervous, excited. Monica, the realtor, with her glossy folder. A buyer's attorney. Lisa and Daniel, at the center of it all, papers neatly arranged, pens ready. Monica saw me first. She blinked, then smiled uncertainly. "Can I help you?" the receptionist whispered to Henry. "We're here for the Collins closing," he said. "My name is Henry Chong. This is Mrs. Margaret Collins." The receptionist's eyes widened. "Just a moment," she said. Inside the room, Lisa glanced up. Her face went through 3 expressions in 3 seconds. Surprise. Annoyance. Something that almost looked like fear. "Mom," she said, standing up. "What are you doing here?" "Attending the sale of my house," I replied. "I figured I should be present for my own funeral." Daniel frowned. "Mom, we told you, you don't need to be here," he said. "It's all technical." "Luckily," Henry interjected smoothly, rolling me to the head of the table, "I quite enjoy technicalities." He placed a folder on the table. The buyer's attorney looked at him. "And you are?" he asked. "Counsel for the Collins Family Land Trust," Henry said mildly. "The actual owner of the property in question." Monica's smile faltered. "Wait," she said. "Owner? I've been dealing with Lisa and Daniel. They're the heirs." "Heirs to her personal estate, perhaps," Henry said, nodding to me. "But not to the house. Not yet. Not unless Mrs. Collins dies. And even then." He opened the folder. "The trust agreement stipulates the house passes directly to the Haven Project non-profit." The buyer's attorney took the documents, scanning them quickly. Lisa grabbed one. "What is this?" she hissed. "Mom, what did you do?" "What I told you I was too old to do," I answered. "Think ahead." Daniel's face went pale. "You put the house in a trust," he stammered. 5 years ago," I said. "With Henry. In that very chair, as a matter of fact." "You never told us," Lisa said. "You lied." "You never asked," I replied. "And I protected my home from exactly this scenario." The young couple looked shaken. We don't understand," the woman said. "Does that mean we can't buy the house?" Henry smiled kindly. "That's the good news," he said. "You can, just not from them. My client, the Collins Family Land Trust, is prepared to move forward with the sale to the Haven Project, who will, in turn, lease to approved tenants such as yourselves under their program, if you choose. Or we can unwind this, and you can walk away with your deposit refunded." He turned to Monica. "As for you, Ms. Realtor, these two," he gestured at Lisa and Daniel, "signed a listing agreement falsely representing themselves as owners. I suggest you send your invoice for marketing time to them, not my client." Monica's professional mask cracked. "You told me you had authority," she snapped at Lisa. "We are the authority," Lisa shot back. "We're her children. And I am still alive," I said sharply. "And I decide what happens to my house." In the end, the young couple chose a different path. They'd fallen in love with the idea of my house, not the messy reality, but the Haven Project. They were delighted. Within a month, the trust completed a sale to them, legal, clean, at fair market value. Part of the proceeds funded my new 1-bedroom apartment in a senior community I actually liked. No forced bingo, plenty of bookshelves. The bulk went into the Haven Project's shelter fund, with a plaque in the lobby. In honor of Margaret Collins, who believed every woman deserves a safe home. My children. They didn't go to jail. They didn't get sued. They did, however, get a bill. From Monica, for professional photos, open house staging, advertising. And from the Haven Project's lawyer, a polite letter explaining. Any further attempt to list or represent the property as your own may be construed as fraudulent and will be addressed accordingly. They called me, of course. Why would you do this to us? Lisa demanded over the phone. Asterisk to asterisk you? I repeated. Or for the women who will sleep in my bedroom knowing no one can throw them out for moving the timeline up. You're punishing us, Daniel said quietly. I'm teaching you, I replied. Like I taught my students, like I taught you when you were little, other people's things are not yours just because you want them. We're still working on it. Trust, like a broken hip, takes time to heal. If you're older, or love someone who is, and you've ever heard, you don't need that big place anymore. It'll be ours anyway, why not now? The doctor says you can't live alone. Remember this. You are allowed to plan for your own safety and your own values. You are allowed to protect your home from strangers and from family. You are allowed to leave your house to a person, a charity, a tree, or nobody. Because it's yours. And if anyone is making moves on your life while you're flat on your back in a hospital bed, they don't deserve the keys. If this story made you think of someone in your life, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Like this video if you believe parents and grandparents are more than walking equity. Subscribe for more real-style stories that remind you. You're never too old to be smart. You're never too broken to draw a boundary. And you're definitely never too weak to roll into a closing room and take back what's yours.